Sweet Dublin. I want to go and I want to do Sunsplash. I want to do this. I want to bring this back to London, you know. So I went down to Jamaica and had a meeting, and I spoke to him and said, look, we really want to put this event together and bring it back to England, because they'd had it here before. That was in, I think it was 1987. They had an event at Crystal Palace Football Ground. They had it the following year, and then the year after they went to Clapham Common. It was huge. Over 100,000 people turned up to Clapham Common, you know. So it was the biggest event, a festival in Britain that year. And it got closed down because it was just too much for the police to handle. You know, as dominantly Afro-Caribbean people, the police had a big problem with that, and every excuse in the book was used to close it down for it to happen again. So bringing it back was a really big thing. It was a massive thing to do. So I thought, here we go. So they agreed. They formulated the original team that was used at Sunsplash, and I had to then bring all the old guard out of the woodwork. So started off with a weird thing in the world, a guy called John Burroughs, OBE. This guy was director of Capital Radio, and I think his brother was head of the regional crime squad in the Midlands. And I was like, there I was, do you know what I mean, ducking and diving and running around. Now I was going to be springing to the table some of the most respectable people in the country to put this festival on. So that was the journey we went on, do you know what I mean, and stuff. And along that road, it was colourful. Let's put it like that, you know.
How
meetings.
come?
Well, it was a question of meetings with the police, because you're sitting down with the police and the fire brigade and, you know, all the necessary authorities, because you're going to put a licence on, James.
So it's not an underground rave where it's just a free-for-all. This is more planned, illegal.
You're going into
stuff.
the Queen's Park. It's a Queen's Park and bringing 50,000 people in now. And as bad luck would have it, we had two bad fates of luck. The first bad fate of luck was a war had been started. There was a spate of shootings, you know, and they were classified as black-on-black yardie gangland shootings. So it was 13 shootings in told in a short spat of time. So the police was like, there's no way this thing's going to be a bloodbath, right? And it was like, look, it won't be a bloodbath for the simple reason this is a family event. There's 3 generations coming out. There's going to be grandparents, there's going to be parents, there's going to be children, right? And there's one thing in our culture we don't do. You don't cross in front of your grandparents, right? And they were like, that's nonsense. These guys are ruthless. They don't care. It's not going to work. I said, no, it is going to work, right? We understand our culture, and there won't be incidents like you think there's been incidents. So anyway, we've had loads of meetings, community meetings. Mum was very influential with it, and we met a lot of senior people who were in the community, you know, Holston, Brixton, all from different sets. Said, look, it can't happen. Not there, it can't, because if it happens, it's the end of something which is a great legacy. I mean, Bob Marley played on this event. Stevie Wonder played on this event. You know, it meant a lot to our culture and to our people, you know. So we'd convinced the police the event would go along. We got a licence of 50,000 people. Then we had a guy called a nail bomber that was going around putting nail bombs everywhere, aiming at ethnic communities. So now, not only have we gone through the whole spate of black-on-black shootings, now we had a lunatic which is walking around planting bombs. So he thought, this is a prime target. Anyway, it was back to paddock stations. Anyone who wanted to be involved was getting very, very shaky about the event. Thank God he got arrested prior to the event. They caught him. So the event went ahead. That was it. The event pushed forward. We had an amazing event at Victoria Park without incident. And the ground was laid, you know, it was laid. This would have now been there to compete with Glastonbury. We were stepping it in, and that would have been the end of it, you know, and that would have been me hanging my boots up and saying, right,
legit,
I'm on this road. Mm-hmm. But, as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
2 months later, she said, come and get your son, 'cause I don't want your baby to come.